Story number 1. I need you to stay with me through every word of what I'm about to tell you, because what I found in that underwater cave didn't just shake me. It made me question everything I thought I knew about the living and the dead, and I have never once been able to go near open water at night since that moment. Not even a swimming pool, not even a bathtub filled too high, because the darkness underneath calm water is not empty. I promise you it is not empty, and I know that now in a way that lives in my chest like a stone. It's a Tuesday night in late October, and I'm floating face down in the Black Caribbean just off the coast of a small island that most tourists skip because there aren't enough bars on the beach. I'm here because I'm one of those people, the obsessive kind. The kind who drives 4 hours to an unmarked dive site because someone on a forum posted 3 grainy photographs and said the coral formations were unlike anything they'd ever seen. My gear is good. My flashlight is military grade, floods a cone of white light about 20 feet ahead of me. The water is 78 degrees, which sounds warm until you're completely submerged in it at 11 at night, and the shoreline behind you is just a faint glow, and every sound above the surface, the crickets, the wind, the occasional car, is gone and replaced by the steady amplified sound of your own breathing moving through the regulator. I follow the reef for maybe 40 minutes, and it is genuinely beautiful. I'm not here to be scared. I'm here because I love this. The fish don't care about me. They drift through my flashlight beam and vanish back into the black. The coral is tangerine and violet and bone white. I feel the kind of calm that people pay therapists to try to manufacture. And then my flashlight catches something that shouldn't be there. There is a shoe on the reef. Not a lost flip-flop. Not a sandal that slipped off someone's foot while they were waiting. A men's leather dress shoe. Brown. Lace is still tied. Sitting upright on a ledge of coral at about 30 feet depth, like someone placed it there on purpose. I hover over it, and I think someone must have dropped it from a boat. Strange, but not impossible. I keep moving, and then I find another one. This one a woman's heel, white, the kind women wear to weddings. And then a child's sneaker, small, maybe a size 3, red with Velcro straps. And then a pair of glasses. Then a second pair of glasses. Then a wallet, open, the cards still fanned inside it. Then another wallet. Then a purse, the clasp still closed, sitting on the sand between 2 coral heads like someone set it down to check something and planned to come right back. I stop moving completely. I hang in the water, and I sweep my light in a slow circle, and I count. 7 pairs of shoes. 4 wallets. 2 purses. A wristwatch still ticking. I can see the second hand moving when I get close enough. A set of car keys with a keychain that says World's Best Dad. A retainer in a plastic case. A child's backpack, cartoon dinosaurs on the front, small enough that the kid who owned it couldn't have been more than 6 years old. I am trying very hard to find an explanation that doesn't terrify me. Boat accident. Luggage lost overboard. Some kind of debris field from a storm. But these things are not scattered. They are arranged. Not in a perfect line, not in a pattern I can fully name, but placed, the way you would place things if you were curating a collection. The shoes are upright. The wallets are open. The purses are closed. I don't understand the logic of it, and not understanding it is worse than anything else. And then I see the cave. I almost miss it because it is low to the reef and the entrance is partially obscured by a fan of coral. And in my light, it looks at first like a shadow, just a darkness a little darker than the surrounding dark. But when I angle my beam directly at it, I see the opening, maybe 4 feet wide and 3 feet tall, leading back into the rock. And from inside the cave, there is no light. I know that sounds obvious. Caves are dark, but I mean there is a quality to the darkness inside that opening that feels different from the surrounding water darkness. It feels like the dark is coming out, like the cave is exhaling black. I am 40 feet from the cave entrance, and already everything in my body is saying go up, go to the surface, get back to the shore. Every animal instinct I have is screaming, and I have been diving for 11 years. I have been in underwater caves before. I know how to manage fear in confined spaces, and I am telling you this is not dive anxiety. This is not claustrophobia. this is something else. This is the specific fear that comes from your nervous system detecting something your conscious mind hasn't caught up to yet. I move closer anyway. I don't know why. I think about it now and I genuinely cannot explain why I move closer. Only that I do. The way you sometimes walk toward the thing in a nightmare, even though you are screaming at yourself to run. I get to about 15 feet from the entrance, and I put my light directly into the opening, and I look inside, and I see them. The cave is full of personal items. Not a few. Not scattered. Full. Floor to ceiling as far back as my light can reach, which is maybe 20 feet into the rock, and I cannot see the back wall. Shoes stacked on shoes. Bags piled on bags. Glasses lined up along a natural ledge in the rock. Hundreds of items. Maybe thousands. The organization inside the cave is more deliberate than what's outside. Everything sorted, everything facing the same direction, everything placed with a care that takes time, that requires intention, that requires someone to come back here again and again. And I see, at the very back of what my light can reach, right at the edge of visibility where things start to blur into dark, a silhouette. It is the shape of a person. It is sitting still. It is facing me. It is too far back in the cave for me to see any detail, just the outline, the shape of shoulders and a head, and it is not moving at all, not with the current, not with my approach, just sitting perfectly still at the back of the cave looking out toward the entrance. Toward me. I do not remember deciding to go up. I remember the reef below me, and then I remember breaking the surface gasping, screaming into the empty night, and I swim for the shore so hard that both my shoulders ache for a week afterward. I don't stop when I reach the beach. I run to the car. I drive back to the hotel dripping wet. I leave my fins on the beach. I leave my secondary light. I leave everything. I report it the next morning. The Coast Guard diver who goes down comes back up, and he won't make eye contact with me when he tells me what he found. He says there are personal items in the cave, extensive collection. They are treating it as an evidence site. He says the silhouette I described was not present when they entered. He says they are not sure how far back the cave extends because they did not finish the dive. He says this in the tone of a man who is not going to answer any more questions. I find out 6 months later through a journalist friend who covered the story that the items recovered from that site were matched to missing persons reports spanning at least 40 years. Items belonging to people who vanished from boats, from beaches, from ferry crossings in a wide radius around that island. Dozens of people, maybe more, they are still going through the inventory. No bodies. Not one. Just their things, arranged with care in the dark, waiting at the bottom of a sea that never gave anything back. I still don't know what was sitting in the back of that cave. I don't know if it's still there. I don't know if it took those things itself, or if it found them, or if those things somehow found their way to it the way things find their way to the dark. What I know is that the last image I have before I hit the surface is the shape of that silhouette, and it had not moved even slightly. And the one detail I can still see when I close my eyes, the one detail I cannot explain away or rationalize or make fit into any category I have for the world, is that even from 20 feet in the dark, I could see that it was watching me. Not scanning, not looking around, watching me specifically with the absolute stillness of something that has been waiting for a very long time and has learned that it can afford to be patient. I don't go near the water at night anymore. And sometimes, when a room gets very quiet, I think about all those wallets and all those shoes, and I think about 40 years of missing people, and I think about what it would mean for something to be down there in the dark, collecting, and I realize that the most terrifying part of the whole story isn't what I saw. It's that whatever it is, it's still down there. And it's still collecting. Story number 2. What I am about to tell you is the reason I now drive with every single window down regardless of the temperature, regardless of the rain, regardless of what season it is, because I would rather be frozen in January or soaked in a storm than ever again be inside a sealed car where I cannot see every surface of every window clearly. And if that sounds extreme to you, stay with me, because by the time I finish you will understand, and you will check your own windows tonight, and you will feel it. 2. The The specific horror of realizing that the thing you couldn't see wasn't on your side of the glass. It's a November night, maybe 9:30, and I'm driving home from my mother's house on a two-lane road that cuts through about 12 miles of farmland before it connects to the highway. No streetlights on this stretch. My headlights do everything. The road is straight and empty, and I know every bend of it so well that I could almost drive it with my eyes closed. Which is the dangerous thing about familiar roads. You stop seeing them properly. I have the heat on. It's around 38 degrees outside, and my car has been sitting for 3 hours in my mother's driveway. So the windows are cold, and the heat coming from the vents is creating condensation. The windshield fogs slightly at the edges, and I run the defroster. The back window hazes a little and clears. Normal winter driving. I'm not thinking about anything unusual. I'm thinking about what I need from the grocery store tomorrow. About 6 miles into the drive, I noticed that the passenger window is fogged. Not the windshield, not the back, specifically the window to my right, the passenger side, fogged over completely with that dense white moisture that forms on cold glass. I reach over and turn up the heat on that side. The fog doesn't clear, which is a little unusual but not alarming. The vent on the passenger side has been temperamental for months. I keep driving, and then I see it. Someone has drawn a face in the fog, on the outside of the glass. I know immediately that it's the outside, not the inside, because the marks are backwards from my perspective, the way letters look when someone writes on a window from the other side. And the face is not a child's scrawl, not a quick smiley face. It is a face. 2 eyes. The iris is filled in with careful circular strokes, a nose with 2 defined nostrils, a mouth closed and straight and expressionless, a face drawn with deliberate, practiced strokes, a realistic face, and around it, like a frame, a ring of smaller marks that I realize after a second of staring are finger streaks, the kind that happen when someone presses their whole palm and fingers flat against glass, many times, in a circle surrounding the face. I am driving 60 miles an hour on a two-lane road in the dark, and I cannot stop looking at the window. The face is looking in. That is what my brain tells me, and it is not wrong. The orientation of the face is looking into the car, toward me, the way you would orient a face if you were standing on the outside of a moving vehicle pressing your face and hands against the glass. I tell myself it was there before I got in the car. I tell myself someone drew it in my mother's driveway. A child, a neighbor, some prank. I want this explanation more than I have ever wanted anything. I reach across and turn the heat on full blast toward the passenger window, and I watch the fog start to thin at the edges of the glass. And as the fog clears, the face disappears, not all at once, but section by section as the defroster works. The forehead first, then the eyes, and I am breathing again. Almost normal, telling myself it was nothing. Someone's kid, nobody on the outside of my car. When the last of the fog clears completely, and the face is still there, not in the fog, in a thin film of moisture on the outside of the glass that the heat from the inside cannot reach. The fog cleared from the inside, and the face remained on the outside, every line of it still intact. The eyes, the nose, the expressionless mouth, the ring of handprints surrounding it, all of it still pressed into the cold glass on the outside of my window as I drive 60 miles an hour on an empty road in the dark. I pull over. I don't plan to, my body does it. Both hands yanking the wheel to the shoulder, and the car stopping half on the gravel with the engine still running and the headlights cutting into an empty field. And I sit there and I stare at the passenger window, and the face stares back at me through the glass. And I am desperately thinking, how did someone draw that on the outside of a moving car? How? The physics of it. There is no answer. There is no position a person could occupy on the outside of a car moving at 60 miles an hour that would allow them to draw on the window. It could not have been done while I was driving, which means it was done while the car was parked. For 3 hours in my mother's driveway. I put the car in park and I get out. I stand in the cold on the shoulder of the empty road, and I look at the window from the outside. The face is there, exactly as I drew it, and the handprints are there, exactly as I saw them. And the thing that completes the horror, the piece of information I have not yet fully processed until I am standing outside looking at it in the cold night air, is that the handprints are large. These are adult hands. Large adult hands, pressed repeatedly against my passenger window from the outside, in a circle surrounding a face, while my car sat in the driveway of my mother's house for 3 hours while I was inside eating dinner. While someone stood outside in the dark next to my car, pressing their hands and face against the glass, tracing, waiting. I call my mother immediately. I ask her if anyone came to the house tonight, if she saw anything in the driveway, anyone walking near the cars. She says no. She says her dog was acting strange all evening, kept going to the front window and growling at the dark outside, but she thought it was deer. I call the police. An officer comes. He looks at the window. He takes photographs. He asks if I have anyone who might want to threaten me, and I say no, and he writes something down. He says there's nothing he can do at this point, but he'll drive by my mother's house. He does not say the thing we are both thinking, which is that whatever person stood beside my parked car in the dark for 3 hours pressing their hands against the glass and drawing a face looking in was not doing it as a warning. Warnings announce themselves. This was done quietly, carefully, in the cold, with no intention of being seen. This was done by someone who wanted to be close to the car, close to where I would be sitting, without my knowledge, for as long as possible. I have a dash cam. It's one of those models with a side camera that covers the passenger window. I watched the footage at home at 2 in the morning, sitting in my kitchen with every light on. And for the first 2.5 hours of the 3-hour recording there is nothing, just the empty driveway and my mother's house and the dark lawn and occasionally her porch light flickering. And then, at 2 hours and 44 minutes, at the very edge of the frame, partially cut off by the angle of the camera, a figure appears, standing beside the passenger door, just standing there. The camera is infrared, so the figure is white against the black of the night, and I cannot see any facial detail, just the shape, the height, the stillness. Standing completely still beside my car for 11 minutes. The face and hands never come into frame. Whatever the person was doing to the glass is happening just outside the camera's reach. And then the figure steps back once, twice, and walks to the edge of the frame and is gone. 4 minutes later, I come out of the house and get in the car. I drove past that person walking away from my car in the dark, and I did not see them. The road was empty. Wherever they went in 4 minutes, they were gone before my headlights could find them. And for 11 miles I drove through that empty dark with a face on my window that someone had pressed there with their hands from the outside. And I was completely alone on that road, and I had no idea. I don't know who it was. I don't know why they chose my car or what they wanted. I only know that they stood in the cold for almost 12 minutes in silence next to my car, close enough to touch the glass, and they did not want to be seen, and they were very patient about not being seen. And I think about patience like that, the specific, deliberate patience of someone willing to stand in the cold dark beside a stranger's car for 12 minutes without making a sound. And I think about what kind of mind produces that patience, what it wants, what it's planning. And I keep my windows down. Story number 3. I want you to understand something before I tell you this story. I have taken that train route over 200 times. I know every station. I know the order, the spacing, the timing, how long each stop lasts, which side the doors open on, which platforms are covered. I know this route the way you know your own hallway in the dark, by memory and by feel, which is why what happened to me broke something in my understanding of the world in a way that has never fully healed, because the most terrifying thing isn't encountering the unknown. It's encountering something impossible in a place so familiar that impossible shouldn't be able to fit. I fall asleep on the last train of the night heading north out of the city, and this is not unusual for me. I fall asleep on trains regularly. I am one of those people who can sleep anywhere with sound and motion around me. It's almost a skill. I have my bag in my lap, my head against the window, my earbuds in with something low playing. The car when I board has maybe 15 other passengers. It is 11:40 at night. I have 42 minutes to my stop, and I have made this calculation dozens of times. I know I will wake up before I arrive. I always do. I open my eyes and the train is stopped. This is not unusual either. Trains stop. Trains pause between stations for signal holds, maintenance, track clearance. I peel one earbud out and I look around the car and I realize it is completely empty. Every seat. No passengers. No bags in the overhead racks. No cups on the seatback trays. The kind of empty that means this car has been empty for a while, not recently emptied. The stillness is too settled. I look at the time. It is 2:17 in the morning. I have been asleep for nearly 2.5 hours on a 42-minute ride. I stand up. My legs are stiff. I walk to the nearest window, and I look out, and I cannot identify the station. The platform is concrete and narrow, older looking than any station on my route, and the station name sign is on the far end of the platform, and from this angle, I cannot read it clearly. The platform has lights, but they are the old amber kind, sodium vapor, casting everything in a yellow-orange color that makes it harder to see detail. The station is small. One platform. Behind it, immediately behind it, a wall of dense trees. No buildings. No road visible. No parking lot. No taxi stand. No bus stop. Nothing on the other side of the platform except forest. I go to the door, and I press the door open button, and nothing happens. I press it again. I hold it. I press the emergency door release, which is a different button, red, clearly marked, and I feel it depress, but the door doesn't move. I go to the next car, stepping through the connector, and that car is also empty, and I press those door releases too, and nothing happens. I walk the full length of the train, 5 cars, all empty, all doors sealed, and at the very front car I can see through the window into the driver's cab, and the cab is empty. No conductor, no driver. I am locked in a stopped, empty train at an unmapped station in the middle of what appears to be a forest at 2 in the morning, and I have no idea where I am. I call emergency services. The call connects, but it breaks up almost immediately. I can hear a voice asking me to state my emergency, and I say I am trapped on a train, and I give the train number, and I am trying to give a location, and the call drops. I call back, and it goes straight to a single long tone that isn't a busy signal, isn't hold music, just a tone, one sustained note, and I stand in the middle of an empty train car with that tone in my ear, and I look out the window at the amber-lit platform and the forest, and I understand that I am more alone right now than I have ever been in my life. I start looking for anything I can use to force the doors or signal someone. I find the emergency brake cord and I pull it and nothing happens. The train is already stopped. The brake does nothing. I find the emergency contact phone mounted near the driver's cab, and I pick it up and get the same sustained tone. I am knocking on the windows with my fist trying to break the seal, and nothing moves. The windows on these trains don't open. I go back to looking at the platform, and that is when I notice the woman. She is standing at the far end of the platform, near the station name sign. She is standing very still. She is facing the train. She is wearing a gray coat and her hair is pulled back, and she is just standing there looking at the train with her hands at her sides, and she is not moving. The amber light makes it difficult to see her face from this distance, maybe 80 feet, but she is clearly looking at the train and not moving. I bang on the window. I wave my arms. I shout even though I know she can't hear me through the sealed glass. She does not react. I watch her for a long time. She doesn't move toward the train. She doesn't look away. She doesn't take out a phone or look at a watch or shift her weight. She stands with a stillness that after 10 minutes begins to feel wrong in a way I can't immediately categorize, because the stillness isn't the stillness of waiting. It's the stillness of something that doesn't need to move, something that can afford to simply observe. After I have been watching her for about 15 minutes, the train shutters. A mechanical shutter that runs the full length of the cars, the kind that happens right before movement. I grab the nearest seat because the motion is so unexpected after such stillness. The lights in the car flicker once, and I look back out the window at the woman at the end of the platform, and she has not moved, not turned to watch the train prepare to leave, not stepped back, nothing. And as the train begins to roll, slowly at first, the platform sliding backward past my window, I press my face against the glass and I watch her recede. And I see her face for the first time clearly as my window passes by her. She is looking directly at me, not at the train, at me, specifically, the way the face in the fog was looking at me, the way the silhouette in the underwater cave was looking at me, the way things look at you when they have been looking at you for longer than you knew. She is looking directly at me, and her expression is not fear or curiosity or relief, and it is not threatening either. It is something else, something I am still trying to find a word for, something like recognition, like she knew I would be on this train, and she came to see it confirmed. She watches me pass, and I watch her, and the train picks up speed, and she becomes smaller, and then the forest closes in, and the platform is gone. 40 minutes later, the train pulls into my station. On schedule, as though no time had passed at all. My stop, correct platform, correct side. Doors opening normally as they always do. The cold night air coming in. My car still empty. The platform here brightly lit and familiar and completely ordinary. I file a report with the transit authority the next morning. I give them the train number, the time, everything. A representative calls me back 3 days later and tells me the following. There is no record of my train stopping between my boarding station and my destination on that night. The data shows continuous movement with normal scheduled stops only. No anomalous pauses. No signal holds. No unexplained delays. The ride time shows 42 minutes, which is correct, which would have required me to arrive at 1:20 in the morning, not 2:17. They cannot account for the missing 55 minutes. They say this as if it is a data error. They say they will look into it. No one contacts me again. I post about it on a train enthusiast forum looking for anyone who knows of an old decommissioned station in that corridor, anything with amber sodium lights and a forest directly behind the platform. 3 people respond. 2 say they've heard of an old station that was closed in 1987 after a fatal accident involving a maintenance worker who was killed on the tracks. The body never recovered, but they don't know the exact location. The 3rd person says something that stays with me. They say that there are reports, old ones, going back decades, from passengers on that same northbound line who describe waking from sleep at a station they don't recognize. Always at night. Always on the last train. Always alone in the car when they wake. Always a short, unexplained gap in the recorded journey time when they check afterward. They always describe a figure on the platform watching the train. I don't know what stopped the train. I don't know how I lost 55 minutes. I don't know who the woman was or how she got to a platform with no road access in the middle of a forest at 2 in the morning and how she got out again. What I know is that she knew which window to look at. She knew which passenger to find. And whatever she came to confirm, standing at the end of that amber-lit platform in the cold, she found it. She looked directly at me with that expression I still don't have a name for. And the train carried me away, and I have taken that route twice since, and I have never fallen asleep. I sit rigid with my eyes open the entire ride, watching the dark outside the window, watching for amber lights in the trees, watching for the moment the car empties and the train slows and the platform appears out of the forest again. It hasn't happened again, but the woman on that platform didn't look surprised to see me. She looked like she expected me. And something about that makes me certain, in the part of me that is still animal and still knows how to be afraid, that she is patient, that she will wait for the night I fall asleep again, and that when I arrive at that station for the second time, I will not be leaving it.